Mythos Busters, investigating the mystery, monsters, and madness of Arkham Horror, the card game.
Hello and welcome to episode 103 of Mythos Busters. We have 3 of the Busters here tonight. I, of course, as always, am Sean. I'm just kidding, that's not true. I'm Nick. Sean is not with us tonight. Something came up suddenly. A good thing came up suddenly, so he had to step away from recording. But rest assured that he is enjoying himself. As we said earlier, before we started recording, it's a Diana Stanley convention with an attendance list of 1 in his living room. But with me tonight are my pals, my chums, my amigos. That's what Sean always says, right? Scott, let's start with you. Hi, Scott.
Hey, amigo.
How's it going? Chum, yeah, pal. Bucko.
I'm not your pal, guy.
I'm not your guy, man.
I'm not your man, friend.
I'm not your friend, pal.
Oh, boy.
Thank you for stopping, because I don't know if I could have.
It's really hard to do. It takes a lot of self-confidence. No, wait. Self-control. That's the word.
Well, I mean, it takes some measure of confidence to keep going with it, I guess.
And speaking of self-control, hey, Ian.
Oh, hello there.
I'm not sure why that's the segue. But,
I mean, I would probably agree that Ian I would guess... okay, years ago I probably would have said Ian has the most self-control out of all of us, but I feel like every few months Ian's like, oh, there's another Kickstarter coming in.
You've learned quickly that that's not the truth.
Right. How you doing, Ian?
Not bad. A little bit tired from a long week at work, as we were talking about before. So I kind of feel like that image from Clockwork Orange where he has his eyes basically forced open.
Oh, yeah.
That's me right now.
Yeah. I think we're all kind of in that place. Scott and I were saying the same thing, too, before we started. So we're going to do our best to keep the energy moving. But you might hear a snore from the one person who isn't talking at some point, so just keep that in mind. It'll be a revolving seat, too, so...
For a second, I thought you said you might hear a snort, and then my mind immediately went to cocaine.
Whatever it takes.
What other purpose does a snort serve, if not to take in that sweet, sweet cocaine?
Yeah, that nose candy.
We got a great...
A little bit of booger sugar.
Booger sugar. Jesus Christ. We got a great episode. I'm just plowing through it. We're just gone. We got a great episode in store for you tonight. We got some stuff to talk about, one of which is, of course, March to Madness, which we'll get to that very quickly here. And then we're going to discuss in detail the scenario Devil Reef. I think that's the 4th scenario in Innsmouth, if memory serves,
yes.
Which it usually doesn't. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So be prepared after our half hour, 45-minute intro. There will be spoilers for Devil Reef. So if you haven't played it yet, pause and then go play it and then come back and listen. But before we get there, an update to Dissonant Voices. We are caught up through Horror in High Gear. Or as I called it on my recent episode of Achievement Hunter, Arkham Ride Along. I just want to say that I recently, and this will kind of segue into the what you've been playing part, or I guess it's me just doing that early, but I've been playing, I went back and I replayed Return to Carcosa, and now I'm starting on Return to the Forgotten Age, and holy cow, if Dissonant Voices in the Arkham Cards app doesn't make my playtime, I played 4 scenarios in 2.5 hours for Carcosa, and it helped that I know Carcosa really well, but the fact that I didn't have to, because I told myself I'm gonna actually pay attention to the story much more than I normally do when I play solo. And having that playing while I was getting cards set up and everything made a huge difference, and I know we've talked about it in the past, but Dissonant Voices is great.
Yeah. I'm really glad we did this thing.
Yeah, I'm just letting you guys know as of right now that, yes, I'm on board for it. And then, so then, like I mentioned, return to the March to Madness. We have an update for you. We have finished seeding the investigators for the Return to March to Madness tournament. The seeding finished this last week. You guys should check out the reveal video for more discussion. Scott, you, Sean, and Justin did that just a little while ago. So go to YouTube and check that out. We'll have the link in the show notes as well. Thank you to everybody who submitted a tier list and helped us with the seeding. It was very tight for quite a while, and I haven't looked at it yet, but I'm excited to see how everything shook out near the end. But prediction brackets. Oh, go ahead.
Do you want to guess? Do you want to guess who's top?
Who's top? Ooh.
Yeah. Ian, did you watch the? Have you seen the?
I have not watched it yet.
What's
no.
shaking out? All right.
The top. Who's hot right now? Let's see who's hot.
It is someone who's hot right now.
Okay, let me ask. Okay, is it Innsmouth cycle or is it previous?
Previous to Innsmouth cycle.
Okay. Then I would
Big
have.
Kahuna says 3-1 against you guys getting it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I'm guessing Hansel. So hot right now.
I'm trying to remember who I put in the tier 1, and I can't even remember. Mark.
Mark is in the top 4, but he's not number 1.
Okay, all right.
I'm gonna say one of the Seekers. Maybe not Ursula this time. I would have said Mandy I'll just say Mandy, even with the taboo.
Mandy's in the top 4, and so is Ursula, but they're not number 1. Number 1 is Stella.
Oh,
wow.
Sure. Okay. I was afraid you'd say Preston,
Stella's
and I
so
just
hot
about
right
quit
now.
the podcast.
I mean, it's valid in my opinion, so
Yes,
yeah, I totally see that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Preston was lower down. It was really interesting because whoever hasn't watched the stream, it's on our YouTube channel. Go check it out. Because Justin also shared. Justin's doing all the back end stuff with all the stats, and he really pointed out a bunch of things. Like there were some that were literally one vote away would have switched them, and it was the bottom of tier 2 and the top of tier 3. They would have been in different tiers and stuff. And then we kind of look over the bracket as well, so you can kind of see there's some very interesting matchups right from the beginning where I'm like, wow, these seem top 8. Or was it Elite 8? I don't know my basketball.
I'm not, yeah. I don't follow hockey.
Yeah. Whatever the sports ball thing is. But, some of those decisions are going to be tough. Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah, I found last year that you have your, at least I know I do, your pet investigator, so those choices are usually easy, but then beyond that everyone is pulling teeth. Who do I choose?
Oh, Ian, you have 2 pet investigators, I believe, in the very first round.
No. No.
I forget who they are, but I remember looking at that, and I think I said, I was like, Ian has a tough choice right here.
It's going to be Finn versus Rita. I'm calling it
probably.
Right now.
Yeah, that seems like what it would be.
That might be it. I don't know. Anyways.
So the prediction brackets are ready. If you're hearing this, either the live recording now or, the live show or as a recording, you can go and make a bracket between right now, when you hear this, and 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time on April 27th. That is the absolute final cutoff. A link to the bracket will be available in the show notes. Otherwise, you guys can just go to, thank you, Scott, for putting that up there, mythosbusters.com/March to Madness. You can find more info and the link there. So mythosbusters.com/March to Madness. March-to-madness. On the bracket page, you just click on the big red fill out a bracket button. It's in the upper left corner of the screen. We strongly encourage you to use a computer to fill out the bracket. Mobile does work, but the bracket app that we use doesn't always scroll very well on your mobile device. So it's just easier if you're on a computer of some sort. At the end of some sort, like a potato with a screen. I don't know why I said some sort there. That was weird. At the end of the tournament, the 3 most accurate prediction brackets will win a prize. So be sure to use a real email when you're making your prediction so that we have a way to contact you in case you win. Make your predictions however you please. There's no right answer, obviously, but remember that people will be voting based on basically any criteria that they want as well. There is also, now there's a March to Madness channel in the Discord server, so you can come and join the discussion there. And please feel free to share your bracket in Discord, or even better, anywhere on social media to help us spread the word about this and get as much of the Arkham community involved in this as we can. And most importantly, have fun with this tournament, guys. And thanks to everybody for joining us for the return to March to Madness. And thank you. He's not here right now, but he will be listening, I'm sure, at some point. And if not, then, thank you, Justin, for all of the hard work that you did for this, even, for the second year in a row. So this has been a lot of fun, and excited to see where it goes.
One thing Justin mentioned, too, on the stream that we did is that last year was basically for each pick you got right, you got a point, right? And so me guessing Ursula to win it all was worth a point. Versus, and so was like an initial bracket in the whatever the first round was. This year, he set it up so it's much more like March Madness brackets. So if you pick the winner, it's worth 32 points. And so as your bracket is more accurate, the farther it goes, the more points it's worth. So
interesting.
So way more pressure.
Yeah. I got to see if I can score even lower than I did last year.
I know, right?
Yeah. And Davy points out in chat as well, once you submit the bracket, you can't edit it. So make sure, before you hit the submit button, you're all good. If you really do mess up, email us. I'm sure we can get rid of your bracket and something like that. I'm not making promises on that though. So make sure you are set up before you hit submit.
Yeah, feel really good about where you put people.
Yeah.
All right. And with that, let's do our check-in. So, Ian, what Arkham have you been playing as of late?
I actually forget what I've updated the listeners on or not as far as what I've been playing. That's part of my tiredness. But in case I didn't mention it, I did get my win against Return to Carcosa. That's one of the campaigns I hadn't yet taken the time to go through and win, because the one time I played it complete before I failed in the final scenario. So this time I got the win, thankfully. And then the other thing that I've started, other than kind of playing through my Innsmouth campaigns, is a two-handed campaign with Jenny and Daisy. And I'm taking them through Return to Dunwich. And that one was really motivated because we had been talking a little bit in our mod chat recently about investigators we haven't played in a while, or the ones we haven't clicked with. And I know for me, Daisy's always been an investigator where I'm like, I see how she can be good, but for some reason she just never quite clicks in a way that is firing on all cylinders for me. That's mostly probably related to my piloting and playstyle. So anyway, I wanted to give her a try with all the cards in the card pool now. And then I also haven't played Jenny in a long time. She was one of my early favorites in the game, but I haven't played her in a while. So I'm starting that. I'm having Jenny as just a straight up killer, basically. Nice. Just loading up on weapons. And one thing I've found already is there's so many boosting options now compared to the past that she's been pretty reliable as killer, more so than she was in the past, I would say. And Daisy, I'm still trying to power up with all the tomes, but I'm just trying to I've been playing with the tome where you have to basically get all the secrets off it and draw up to 10 cards in your hand. I'm going to be using that one and see how it goes.
I also built a Daisy deck recently. After I finished Return to Carcosa, I started prepping for another campaign to take place after I do Return to Forgotten Age, because that feels how fast I'm going through these now. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's wrong with me. But I built Daisy and Rita to go together in the Circle Undone. I want to do the Circle Undone before Return 2 comes out, so that I can actually, for the first time in my life, experience vanilla Clutches of Chaos. Before I get
If you don't black out while playing.
yeah, exactly. But my Daisy build, I decided to go with, I'm calling it Daisy's Miskatonic Book Club, because it's going to be all tomes, and I'm planning to take that Miskatonic University funding, or whatever that permanent is, that gives you 2 extra ally slots, but only for Miskatonic allies. Like, I'm going to try that sort of build out and really just, like, manipulate the secrets on books and stuff like that. So that'll be interesting. I haven't actually started that one yet, though. But yeah, Daisy's fun. I like her. I played a big hand Daisy a little while ago in like a one-off standalone, and it was fun. And then I was like, why aren't I just using Harvey? I have all the stuff from Harvey's deck in here. Why aren't I just playing Harvey? Yeah. Scott, what are you playing?
Well, I think my favorite campaign going right now is still my my face check campaign with Casey, where I'm playing Silas and he's playing Amanda, and we're going through Innsmouth. And we're heading into the final scenario, which we don't have yet. But I'm at 32 experience with the Silas deck, and I'm at a point where I don't know what to upgrade because I think I'm at full build. And like I have 11 XP to spend, and I don't know what to do with it. Like, I'm thinking I'm going to grab, like, 2 upgraded Peter Sylvesters and, I guess charisma. Like, I'm honestly at a loss. It's been going really well. I'm using Granny Orn and also Dark Horse and track shoes. So at times, and then also I got Thomas Dawson at one point. So at one point my stat line was 4466. To start as Silas with Granny Orn, so effectively a 5577. Like, and it's just like an enemy shows up, and I'm like, which of these 6 ways would I like to deal with you? Yeah, I'm really liking. I know it's kind of adding more Silas to Silas, but the butterfly effect card, which I think we're covering.
Yep.
In this in this episode, so I'm not going to go into depth with it. Loving that. Upgraded Unexpected Courage. Oh my goodness. And I am running Silas with both his book signatures and his OG or his normal signatures.
Yeah.
Which I really like. I'm okay with the extra weakness for the power that both of those sets bring. So yeah. So, and that's 32 experience currently, and I have to be at 43 going into the final, and I'm at a loss.
You have to be.
You have to spend it all.
Yeah.
I've definitely run into that with survivors before, where you get to a point where, like, I feel obligated to spend this XP, but the argument could actually make that I'm making my deck worse at a certain point by upgrading. Because, like, the deck just works together so tightly, like, that if you remove some of those cards to upgrade, like, arguably, it's actually not an improvement.
Right. Yeah, I upgraded Cherished Keepsake because, I don't know, why not? Like, it was in my deck.
Shrug.
Yeah. Reasons?
You need to start pulling more exile cards, I guess, to have a constant sync for your experience.
I mean, I guess so. I'm running 19 skills.
Oh, jeez.
4 events, 2 copies of Lucky Level 3, and 2 butterfly effects. Like, heavy skill Silas, and just going super aggressive with them. My God, Silas is fun to play. Like, is he my favorite investigator now? Oof.
Oh, wow, really? I mean, I like him a lot too, but
in multiplayer, he might be darn close.
Sure.
Yeah, and not solo. Although he's very interesting solo. But
yeah,
he's definitely up there. He's in my top 3 for sure.
Cool.
But yeah, so that campaign's going well. And I've been kind of diddling around with solo Trish and trying to figure that out. And it's really fun. Not a lot of detail there. I've just been kind of doing like odd scenarios here and there with like 5 and 10 XP and stuff like that, just testing her out. So I'm trying to decide. I think I might take her through TFA.
That's where I
Yeah,
have her
she'd
right
probably
now.
be good in that.
Oh, really?
So for my recent Arkham, I finished up my Joe Diamond Lola Return to Carcosa. Lola performed well, and I said this in our Mythos management. I'm not going to get into it because it's a well we've tread this ground before.
Yes.
But she was a lot of fun. I know I like her because I played her for Iron Man Dunwich years ago, and I liked her then, and I still like her. But when I finished out, she ended up getting defeated in Dim Carcosa right at the end, and Joe had to squeeze out the victory solo. But I ended up winning the campaign, and she,
Nice.
like I said, she was really fun, and she did really well. I did tarot build, and I did double studious, so I was rocking 7 cards in my opening hand. So I almost got
nice.
yeah, I got tarot cards and Anna Caslow out almost every scenario after I bought them.
Wow.
The but, as Davy says, waiting for the but, haha, yeah, there is a but, unfortunately. And because I was looking at it, I was like, oh, it was so great to have Lola rocking, 5 intellect from turn 1. And then I was like, well, that kind of sucks that I had to spend 6 experience to get the cards to get her to 5. You know what I mean? Like, there are investigators. I don't want to get into it. She was still really fun though, and the ability to bounce back and forth and having like Mystic as my off class to where I could. I only had Mystic events. I didn't have any Mystic assets. So if I had that opportunity to, I would swap to Mystic before the Mythos phase, and then if I end up, if I draw a card in it, so that worked. She is still a lot of fun. I'm excited for, like we said before, Return to the Circle Undone to come out to give her more tarot effects and more stuff to play with, because that is a fun build. But after that finished, I started up Return to the Forgotten Age, and I'm running Leo and Trish in that one. And I just did Untamed Wilds. I just did it the other day. And that was, I think, my best performance for solo Untamed Wilds that I've ever had. They succeeded. They got 11 experience, which I didn't even know you could. I'm sorry, they got 10 experience, which I didn't even realize you could get that much in Untamed Wilds, but they did. Trish is a powerhouse. She is insane. So naturally for Trish, I think the first upgrade I bought 1 copy of Chuck. And so I'm like, I guess she's playing a Chuck deck. We're going to give this a try. And so then I bought Under Surveillance, which is a card we'll talk about later today or later tonight. And just stuff like, looking at more tactic and trick events. And I am going to go for Turn Back Time, because I've never actually done that. So I made sure that Trish bought the pendant. Yeah, it's going to be...
That's on my list, too.
Yeah, I've never done it. And I think it'd be super
either.
fun. Yeah, but that's where I'm at, is I'm 1 scenario into Return to TFA, and I guess I haven't even looked back at Innsmouth yet. I think I'm just waiting for all the scenarios to be in my hand before I dive back in.
That's fair.
I think my thoughts on Trish is I'll use this opportunity to give a PSA that you should always think very carefully who you choose as your face check for each campaign. This is a cautionary tale about Trish in Innsmouth for me. I chose her as my face check for Innsmouth solo, and although I don't doubt that she's very powerful, and I've experienced it at times in the campaign, face check is just a whole different beast where, because you don't know what's coming, you just end up getting wrecked a lot. And so it's been a really binary campaign. Like, I've had some scenarios where she just demolished it, and I was like, okay, I get it. I see how powerful she is. And she's had some of the fastest victories I've ever had in the scenario, and she's also had my all-time quickest loss, which I think was 3 rounds in a certain scenario in this campaign, where just everything fell wrong and she was just knocked out in 3 rounds. It was ridiculous. I was like, well, guess I have a time for another game of Arkham tonight. Time to set up Stella. So all that's to say that, like, I do think she's powerful with her card pool and everything. Of course she's gonna be, and I know a lot of people would be like, but you love Finn, how could you be like ambivalent about Trish? But it's just that face check experience where, like, sometimes you get that bad taste in your mouth, and so I need to play her more. And that happened with me with Joe Diamond. He was my solo face check in TCU.
Ooh.
Which is a terrible face check for Joe Diamond.
You need Will in that one.
Yeah, and so, like, he just carried around so many cards in his threat area the whole campaign until he died. And so to this day, I still have, like, feelings about Joe Diamond where I'm like, I know he can be good, but I just have bad feelings. So anyway, just when you're going to choose a face check, pick someone you don't care about.
No, I can relate to that because it has since not become my face check campaign because my other Innsmouth campaign has proceeded further. But my wife and she and I were playing Innsmouth together, and I was playing the scenarios for the first time alongside her. And she was playing Rex, and I was playing Silas. And I already knew I liked Silas, but I never played him through a full campaign. And I just looked at the stats just now. He's at 3 physical trauma going into Devil Reef. Like, he's not sitting pretty in the trauma. Like, he's doing well, but then it usually comes down to the last, 2 or 3 rounds, and everything just tends to get away from me at that. Whereas in my other Innsmouth campaign, which started as I know how the scenarios work, but now has since turned into my blind check. That one I'm running Mateo and Mary, and they're doing great. So it's tough. It is tough. Let's see. Moving right along, though, we have our voicemail prompt. We're going to skip that segment for tonight. I know that's Sean's third baby after Diana Stanley and Agnes. It's this voicemail prompt. So we'll let him handle that when he comes back. But if you want to leave us a voicemail that's not related to this prompt, we'd love to hear it and maybe even play it on a show. That's 203-493-MYTH, 293-493-6984. Network in chat says, what about Lily? Yes, I mean, I guess his kid would probably count as a baby in there somewhere. I'm going to put her tied with the voicemail for 3. He's got priorities. So, Ian, you want to take us through some patron stuff?
Sure thing. So first off, thanks as always to our 13 board members, Chris B, Chris H, Chris M. That's our conglomeration of Chris's, Morton, Jared, Ian, Kyle, Philip, Dave, Abilio, Jesse, Chad, and Robert. Thanks so much for your support of the podcast and enabling us to do all the things we do. Special shout out to a random patron this time around is to Gary Walker. Thanks, Gary. You have been a part of supporting us as well. If you haven't yet visited mythosmerch.com, please do, because we're always adding new merch over time. We've got blankets, we've got shirts, we've got mugs. Fairly recently, we added a few different types of merch related to the Live, Laugh, Love, Add One Doom on the agenda, etc. Meme, which was part of our meme contest, and we worked with the artists to create merch based on those. So make sure you check that out on the site. Just as a quick goals update, nothing new has really changed other than, yes, we have unlocked a custom scenario, and we've unlocked recording audio for Dissonant Voices for the standalone episodes, and we've unlocked BusterCon. We've smashed through several doors, and so we're working hard on getting all of those goals and turning them into reality. Obviously, the BusterCon will have to wait the longest because, global pandemic. And the last thing is we have some job titles to give out. So first, to Andrew Pelican,
I think. Yeah.
Sure. Andrew is going to be assistant to the regional manager of the Mystics in Training program, which is our teenage outreach program. Glad to see Andrew giving back to the youth.
Yeah. The youth of the
Scott,
future.
did you want to read the next one?
Yeah. Matthew Deem is the regional manager of the Mystics in Training program, which is our teenage outreach program. So nice to see him giving back to the community as well. Andrew and Matthew probably make a great team, I hope. If they don't, well, the kids get a lesson in how to resolve or continue conflict, I guess.
Guess we'll have to sit in on some HR meetings. And finally, Nick, did you want to read the third one?
Sure. Then we have Alan Brooks, who is our junior accountant. And moving on to news and articles and community, just want to remind everybody that FFG Play and Share is still going on. So tag social media posts with hashtag FFG Play and Share. And then we have the link to the original article as well for more information on that. Has there been any update on that in the last 3 times that we've recorded an episode?
There was. They did just release, what was it? Some alt art cards, printable for L5R, I believe.
Oh, I keep forgetting that game exists.
Well, it really doesn't anymore. Sorry, L5R players. But,
I played one game of it, and I was like, it's fun. Okay. Which is a shame, because I do miss, current competitive card games. All the competitive card games I'm into are all dead. So I guess I could put L5R in that list now. If I wanted to.
The sun has set on the era of competitive LCGs.
I think so.
I mean, there's none left.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
So.
And nothing's been announced, but that could change, but who knows?
Yeah. Whenever they put Star Wars on the Conquest shell, man, I'm gone.
I don't
Sorry.
think that, I'll be right there with you, but I also don't think that's going to happen.
No, that's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. Davvy's saying in chat also the FFG Play and Share, they have 1,020 so far last week, and if we get to 1,250, I guess a lot of people have guessed that it's going to be an Arkham related thing. So.
And what were the previous things that we got for Arkham with this?
Was that one that we got the Daisy? The Parallel Skids promos.
It's the alt art type thing.
Oh, okay.
Or alt templating. I don't know what you would call it.
I mean, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm going to guess, though, at least half of these are Arkham. Out of the 1,020, I think a lot of them are Arkham.
Oh, you know what? Yeah. Probably.
Yeah.
Turns out it's pretty popular.
Yeah.
All right.
Unfortunate there's that little news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not in our... I realize it's not in our show notes right now, but Scott, are there any rules things that have come up recently, maybe?
No.
Not that we need to fill for time, but...
No, nothing big.
Okay.
Yeah, there's not been any... There hasn't been anything like Time Warp being printed, so...
That's true.
All the cards have more or less worked the way they should.
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing startling. Davy did... MJ did hop on our server. Davy just reminded me. Did mention that there may be a bit of a hiatus between the end of Innsmouth and the announcement of the next cycle. And she explained that the reason was basically where the time they develop, the time that COVID hit and started screwing up everything, hit right at a certain point of development where I don't there's a weak point somewhere and it got right in there, right? If you ever played Fallout, they hit the 95% damage.
Right, and everything exploded.
COVID's running VATS on FFG, I guess. No, that makes sense because I think they generally run 2 campaigns ahead. I think was
something like that. I think MJ has mentioned before. It's a year or 2 ahead.
Yeah, because I remember them saying that Dunwich was being finished up before the game even released. So,
yeah, and on top of that, the final pack of the cycle has been delayed a bit. I forgot what the exact date, but it was originally supposed to come out in early April. Now it's mid-May, I think, is the new release
May
date
17th?
for the final pack.
That sounds
it's somewhere
right.
around there. So, it's a little bit of a cliffhanger waiting for the end of the cycle, but it's just a lot of shipping issues this cycle, but it's not really an Arkham problem so much as a general shipping problem right now.
Just a world problem.
Yes, just a global issue.
It's just a new truth of the world we live in.
A Suez problem.
God, it's an evergreen problem. All right. On that note, Ian, do you want to guide us through this voyage into Devil Reef?
I shall. So let's all hop in the boat together. So first off, as always, we're going to go in depth to the player cards. So if you're planning to leave or stop listening when we start spoiling, we're not to that point yet. We'll let you know once we start delving into the scenario spoilers. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about the player cards before we get there. So I'm just going to pull up ye old player card list, and since we're starting with the Guardian cards, let's go ahead and have Nick start us off.
Sure. We are leading with Keen Eye, which is a level 0 Guardian asset that costs 2 resources, has an intellect and a combat skill icon. It is talent traded, and its game text reads, Zappy Boy, spend 2 resources, you get +1 intellect until the end of the phase. Zappy Boy the Second, spend 2 resources, you get +1 combat until the end of the phase. Sure. It's the same, essentially, as Keen Eye level 3. It's just not permanent. And that's now what we know, that 3 experience is how much permanent is worth. Because it's the exact same text otherwise, isn't it? Yeah, I don't think there's any... Yep.
It's interesting that this came in Devil Reef with the boat scenario, because what a boat anchor of a card this is.
You know, I like the original version of Keen Eye. I think it's pretty good. I think it does the 2 things that Guardian is the most focused on, combat especially, and then intellect is just great to have. Do I like it more than physical training? Don't know. I haven't played the newest version of physical training, the one that comes with two whatever you call it, resources on it. I haven't played that one yet. But level 0, I think so. I think so. But level 0 Keen Eye, I don't think I'll ever run this.
I don't think level 0. I think for me, like the level 3 one, the permanent one, is the only time I put it in is in very specific decks where I'm usually standalone, playing a very enemy heavy based standalone where I know that I'm going to be fighting. Like I'm, Lightning Gun Zoe if I'm playing non-taboo. Mm-hmm. And I'm willing to spend 4 resources to get +2 combat for the entire phase, right? Because then I'm getting a deal on it. If I know all my actions are going to use combat. And that's going to be multiple turns that I get to use that ability. Otherwise, Keen Eye, it's just, you have to be doing the same thing over and over again for it to make value.
Yeah, I think the reason why I liked it when it came out a lot and why I still kind of like it is because when it came out, I was still primarily a true solo player, and I think this does more work for you in true solo than it does elsewise. Maybe not so much anymore, but definitely when the original one came out in, what is it, Dunwich? Oh, crap, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I feel like this is one that for actual Guardians, I probably wouldn't look at much, because I think in general, I'm not really hankering in Guardian these days for this type of, like, pay to boost combat. I'm usually rolling pretty high. Yeah. Maybe on harder difficulties, I don't know. But for, I think the times I would maybe look at this is more so like off-class use. So someone who could spend resources and get a boost, like maybe a Jenny, maybe someone else who can off-class access this.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm trying to think of who else.
Joe
Diamond, maybe. Yeah.
I mean, these are Joe's stats, but I don't think he looks at this necessarily. It's just also like Guardian tends to hurt for resources until they get some experience under them. And not only does this, like, you're spending 2 to get +1 maybe 3 times in a row, maybe. But you're also spending 2 to put it into play, so you're looking at, if you want to use it the turn you put it into play, you're looking at a minimum of 4 resources already. And like
Yeah.
that's a gun. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Realistically, I don't think I'm going to use it much.
Yeah.
I guess it's the final verdict,
Yeah.
but
Right.
there might be some cases here and there. All right. The next one up, let's give it to Scott for a little bit of smiting.
Now that we've smit down Kenai, Radiant Smite is a level 1 cost guardian event. It's got willpower and combat icons, spell, spirit, and bless traded. So Mateo can take this. Who does spirit? Does someone do spirit?
Calvin.
Is that Calvin?
Calvin.
Yeah, so Calvin can take this too.
Yeah.
Fight. You may use willpower instead of combat for this attack. When you initiate this attack, search the Chaos Bag for up to 3 Bless tokens and seal them here. For each Bless token sealed on Radiant Smite, you get +1 skill value and deal +1 damage for this attack. If this attack defeats the attacked enemy, return the sealed tokens to the token pool. Otherwise, release them. So if you've got enough Bless tokens in the bag, you can grab all 3. You get +3 willpower, or +3 willpower because you're using that instead.
Or combat.
And do plus.
You may use
Oh yeah, you
will.
may use. Yeah.
Yep, you don't have to.
So +3 to your skill value, and then also you're doing 4 damage.
4 damage. That's
Which,
huge.
yeah,
That is huge.
And I mean, it does.
What other
cost
event
you-
deals 4 damage? I'm trying to think.
Leveled up, I've got a plan doesn't it?
I've got a plan.
Oh, even
The
base? Yeah,
original one
even
does.
0 does, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
1-2
1-2
punch.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
you're Nathaniel, yeah.
I think I threw this into my Sister Mary deck, but I haven't had a chance to play it yet. Because my first thought was like, oh, but I'm taking 3 Bless tokens out of the bag. Ooh, but then I was like, wait a minute, no. That deck throws so many Bless tokens at the bag that it's not a big deal if I lose 3 in one action, especially if it means I'm doing 4 damage for one action. So I'm excited to take this one for a spin.
Well, and I was thinking too, like with the taking the 3 Bless tokens, like let's say you have 5 Bless tokens in the bag, and the bag is 16-ish, right? So now you're at a 21 token bag. The odds of you drawing, like you're basically getting half of a Bless token for each of these Bless tokens. You're getting +1 instead of +2. But you're quote unquote guaranteeing you're drawing them, but for half price. Like to me, I don't know if that's making sense the way I'm explaining.
No, yeah, I
it,
totally get it, yeah.
but the stats of it, and it's also adding damage. So to me, like if this is where I think I like to play Bless is not for the +2s. It's you put a bunch of Bless tokens in the bag, don't touch the bag, and go fish them out
Now,
for other bonuses.
They're a
right?
resource, yeah.
Like, yeah, they should not be coming out of the bag for +2s because that is a waste. So.
Yeah, I recently had ran Bless Mateo, and God, now I can't remember his partner. But anyway, Bless Mateo through and his partner through Return to Carcosa, the aforementioned victory. But I use Radiant Smite a lot with Mateo, and it was just the ability to drop a 4 damage bomb is always going to be useful, even if, like in that campaign, he was mostly the Clover and the other investigator was the damage dealer. Just having that option, because no matter what your particular roles are, there are often times where you want especially in 2-player compared to like 4-player, where you want your Clover to have the option, either because they get isolated or because they need to help out against a boss, whatever reason. Just having that option. Like I know the big what's the big enemy in Pallid Mass, the big ghost thingy, the ghost boss.
Oh, the
Spectre, I think it is.
Skulls or whatever. Oh yeah, it's a Spectre. You're right.
Yeah, so Nathaniel, that was his partner. Yeah, so Nathaniel put a bunch of hurting on that, but Mateo was able to like drop a Radiant Smite to finish it off, so that was all done in one turn, for example. So and then I've also used this in Mary. Right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
spirit trading. Yep, and you can use this combat instead of willpower. So yeah, this is a great card. Obviously you have to be using Bless tokens, but that's just part of what the card does, but
Yeah.
it's great.
And the May will instead of combat that's an important
Yeah.
addition. I really like that.
Mm-hmm. And only one cost compared to something like I've got
Yeah.
a plan that's 3 cost, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a good one. Okay. I will read the next one because it is beckoning to me. This is The Truth Beckons, a Seeker event, 1 cost, level 0, intellect and agility icons. Truth Beckons has the insight trait, play only if you are not engaged with an enemy. It's a move action. Choose an unrevealed location. Move 1 location at a time along the shortest path toward that location until you enter that location. End this effect if you reveal a location, if an enemy engages you, or if your movement is blocked. Whew. That's a mouthful.
I ran this one in my hunch deck for Joe Diamond in Path to Carcosa. It didn't get nearly as much play as I would have liked. But I'm seeing people in chat saying they really, really like this card. It's just when it came up on the hunch deck, it wasn't, because I saw this and I was like, oh, this would be perfect in the hunch deck because it's like, boom, you get like 4 moves. But when I would end up getting it, I either didn't need to move or the map was revealed. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a terrible hunch deck card.
Yeah, I learned that after 8 scenarios.
But yeah,
Learned that lesson well.
I think though that this is just a really good card.
Right.
I should say, on replays of campaigns or scenarios, definitely not on your face check plays, because I think you will often run into an enemy or something like some sort of movement blockage, right? Like this is really good when you know a scenario. I mean, my goodness, there are some scenarios you could get, like 3-4 moves out of this. So, seems really good.
It's definitely dependent on that like location layout for me, because I kind of think about scenarios as like, of course there's a wide variety of layouts and it probably doesn't just fall into these categories, but I kind of think of scenarios either as like kind of like a video game side scroller where you're just kind of moving and keep exploring and you're not going back to locations you visited already, versus the ones where you do a lot of backtracking and moving around. And I think it's that second category that this is really good, where you need to move through a bunch of locations that have already been revealed to get to somewhere else.
Yeah, because only the chosen one you're moving to has to be unrevealed.
Right.
Yeah, I honestly haven't included it in a deck yet, so I can't give a good judgment on it, but I definitely see the use depending on scenario.
I slid it into my solo Ursula Dubs deck to try it out. And if you know what you're doing, it works really well. Don't do it on your face check plays, but yeah.
Beckon responsibly.
Yes.
So, Nick, if you could turn your gaze to the next card.
Sure. Gaze of Oraxis is a level 2 Seeker event. It costs 2 resources, has a combat and agility icons, skill icons, spell and cursed traded, so Rex can't take it. Reveal 7 random chaos tokens from the chaos bag. Deal a total of 1 damage plus 1 additional damage for each curse or autofail token revealed, divided as you choose among enemies at your location. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity. Oh, sure. And actually, I misspoke. Rex can't take fortune cards. He can take this because it's cursed. So.
Yes.
Yeah, he's all about it.
Yeah.
So my favorite part about this card is someone took one of those AIs you can get online that can make pictures alive, and made the eyes start moving, all 3 of them, and it was creepy as hell, and I had to close the window.
Ugh. Don't like it.
This seems really fun, though.
Yeah.
I don't know the reliability. I know Davy was mentioning he has a blog about the numbers on it, so...
Yeah, it seems definitely dependent on if you're playing curses or not. If you are, they definitely seem to come out usually when you don't want them to, though. But even then, 7 is a lot of tokens.
Yeah.
I don't think I could speak like intelligently without crunching the numbers or looking at the numbers, but if you are playing a kind of curse heavy team, then I could see you getting reliable damage out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I personally haven't played this because the super curse builds haven't yet appealed to me, but I am looking at Davi's blog, which is obscurestudies.com, and so when you have 10 curses in the bag, your expected damage is around 4, and you have a 65% chance of doing 4 or more damage.
Wow, that's really good.
Yeah.
With 5 curses, so halfway, you're looking at 3+ damage 69% of the time.
It's still good.
So, yeah, like this is not bad. I'm not sure. Like, to me, it's okay. So if I'm packing the bag full of curses and then this goes off, I'm like, awesome, that's great. There's still a bunch of curses in the bag that I need to choose through on tests, right? Like and this is testless damage, which is also really nice. And you can just deal damage to whatever, right? Great for like, oh, we have 3 whippoorwills at our location. Pew, 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 bye birds, right? But it's still that heavy curse load that I'm not sure about. And I honestly I don't like, quite honestly. So.
Yeah.
I mean, the one cool thing, like, a silver lining to this that I just realized, there's no cap on the damage. So if you happen to reveal 7 curse tokens, that's 8 damage from a 2-cost Seeker event.
Yes. That's how we should evaluate this card. I draw.
I mean, ever since I ran shotgun in Barkham Horror, now I'm looking for that damage cap because I'm like, God, why is there shouldn't be a damage cap on shotgun? I mean, there definitely should, but there shouldn't, you know? So.
Yeah, I definitely like the design of it, that it's testless damage, but you still gotta work for it, so it's not making it too easy.
Right.
I'm kind of imagining though, like, I wonder if we're getting to a point where, like, between this one and I've Got a Plan, and I think it's Occult Invocation, and you throw in a good old Acidic Ichor Strange Solution, if you can have a Seeker Killer going on.
Yeah, and blood. What is the other one? Bloodright from the
Bloodright.
The
yeah,
book
throw
that
that
pulls
in
in
there.
Bloodright. Yeah.
Okay, now I need to build a Combat Seeker.
I know. Now I want to build it.
Who would be the
This sounds
best?
fun.
Because you need. Well, I mean, they all have int, but yeah, who would be the best fit for that? Like, you can't use damage.
Oh, it's gonna be
Who you got?
Harvey, because then you can do Big Hand and use what's that the spell slot one where it's the bird Foresight or something, where you can play events fast
and double it up. Yeah. Or fast. Yeah.
Yeah, Farsight. That's it.
I like it because
Yeah,
I was
I
going
like
to say
that.
you can't use damage stuff from other classes. It has to be just Seeker damage.
Yeah, because then you're cheating. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't do that.
And with Harvey, you're not even tempted because he doesn't have an off class. So I was going to say that you should do a reverse.
Versatile. No,
Yeah, I was going to say that you should do a reverse and build a solo deck with a Seeker where all of your Seeker cards have to be your Seeker has to be focused on damage, but your off class has to be focused on clue gathering. But now we're just getting
That could
silly.
be fun.
Yeah, it could be interesting.
gross.
Yeah, I want to build it. I don't know. I think it would depend on, like, if it could have enough stamina over the course of a scenario. But yeah,
Right.
probably, maybe. We'll report back.
Yeah.
The next card is for Scott. I couldn't think of a good transition there.
All right, Priest of Two Faiths is a level 1 cost rogue asset. We're into rogues now. It has the agility icon. Ally, blessed, and curse traded, so Mateo can take this priest. Reaction, after Priest of Two Faiths enters play, add 3 blessed tokens to the chaos bag. Forced at the end of the upkeep phase, you must either add a curse token to the chaos bag or discard Priest of Two Faith. And he has, or faiths, he has 2 health, 2 sanity, and takes up the ally slot.
The way you said that, Mateo can take this priest, made it sound like they're gonna fight. Like, oh yeah, my money's on Mateo. He can take him.
Yeah. Mateo would lay this guy out. Yeah.
One radiant smite and it's over.
So this is kind of like where I like the curse token play. Kind of like Faustian Bargain, where you're paying a little bit of a price with the curse tokens to avoid a monetary, like a resource cost, or you're paying for a big bonus, right? Like 1 cost ally with a 2/2 soak that brings in 3 blessed tokens, and maybe he adds a curse token or 2, but maybe you use them up before that cost comes in. Faustian Bargain gives you more money for curse tokens. Like, I love that part of curse token play. And so I really actually do like this card, mostly if I'm playing like a Mateo Bless deck, to get blesses in there quickly and have some soak. But he also doesn't do much beyond that.
Right. Yeah. He's despite being a priest of 2 faiths, he's a one-trick pony.
2 faiths, 1 trick. Yep.
I find it interesting. I do appreciate, much like how with Radiant Smite you can pick will or combat, I appreciate in here how at the end of the upkeep phase you can choose to just discard him. You don't have to leave him in play. I kind of wonder if an earlier version that obviously didn't see release had him just force at the end of the upkeep phase at a curse token. And so then it relied on you to then play around the curse tokens or play recklessly enough to where you can stack the damage and horror on him enough to send him to the graveyard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that, because I could see that working.
Take him to the cleaners.
Yeah, exactly. Because then it's more of a choice. Do I include him in my deck or not? You know, there's more of a crux there. Whereas now you could just, for 1 resource and a card slot, obviously, you can throw him into play, get those 3 bless tokens, and then may not even worry about keeping them around. But, I mean, 1 curse token isn't that big of a cost, really.
It really isn't. Though,
it really
right?
isn't.
It's kind of like one of those the rogue allies, Hired Muscle and
Treasure Hunter or
Treasure
something.
Hunter, yeah. Where it's like 1 resource, but in rogue, you know, honestly, with some like Jenny, it's not that big, or so yeah. And that's where I like the curse, where it's like it's a little upkeep cost, or it's a little cost for a little bonus. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of see 2 uses, which is kind of fitting for this guy. I guess I see 2 uses. One is what you guys are talking about, where you almost treat him like a 1-cost event that's like 1 cost to add 3 bless tokens.
Yeah.
Maybe you keep him around hoping like you get a treachery or something in the next Mythos phase that you can soak up with him and then get rid of him. But the other use is actually to like generate curse tokens if you are playing a curse type deck. Because I'm trying to experiment and run a cursed Dexter campaign right now where he's using the curse suite of spells. And one of the things with the I actually have had an easier time finding bless generation effects compared to curse. Like there's not a ton of curse generation out there actually. And so, like, with Dexter, one of the reasons I picked him is because of rogue access, like, is having access to a card like this, where, hey, it's actually a good thing, an extra curse each turn to try to get more in the bag. So I think that's the other use where he's, like, just fueling the actual curse play.
I think the curse play, it lives in Seeker for the most part. And then I think Rogue and Mystic rent their curse play, I believe. Rogue feels like it's trying to do both. Like, I think most of the Rogue cards that I've seen kind of go, I guess it's just this and Skeptic that come to mind. But or does Mystic do both too? I guess I can't remember now if Mystic does or not. Both Bless and Curse.
They do.
Mystic is pretty much plays off the curse. The Mystic is tricky because it has the stuff that rewards you if curses are drawn, but it really doesn't have much in the way of like getting curses in the bag. So you usually have to off class either into Rogue or Seeker to get those.
Interesting.
Jeff also brings up a point in chat that Leo gets the priest down for free at the beginning of the turn, and then soaks 3 from his friends that he's given solemn vows to. So
Sure.
yeah, like that's so. Play him down fast. Trigger solemn vow, solemn vow, solemn vow. So you will play this priest down, soak 3 out of 4 on him before you've taken an action. Plus add 3 tokens to the bag.
Sure.
There you go.
And the other thing is, this guy isn't unique, so if you have charisma and you got 2 out, you could just be pounding the bag with cursed token.
2 priests of 2 faiths.
Yeah. Yep.
Together they make 1 priest of 4 faiths.
Yeah. 2 priests, 4 faiths. It's like 2 fast, 5 furious, or whatever.
2
I'd watch
spooky,
that
5 me.
Yeah.
I'll keep a close eye on that deck. My card is Under Surveillance. This is a 3-cost rogue event, level 1. Intellect and agility icons, tactic and trap traded. Attached to your location, limit 1 per location. Forced after a non-elite enemy enters attached location, discard Under Surveillance. Automatically evade that enemy and discover 1 clue at attached location. That enemy does not ready during the next upkeep phase.
Which one of you was mentioning using Chuck in a Trish deck?
Me.
Because this one would be fast and 1 cost.
Exactly. I think we talked about this in Look What I Found. Am I remembering that correctly?
I think we did, yeah. I think this was our preview card.
I think it was too. And we as soon as we looked at it, we're like, oh yeah, Trish. And like, yep. Like I bought Chuck, I bought 2 of these, and I was good. So I'm excited to get those out and try them out. Seems really good.
Yeah, I've used this a couple times in solo with Preston, kind of leaving traps around. And I also tried it out in a Wendy deck.
Oh sure,
I like that as well. I've found great use of it. I think this is a top-notch card.
And unlike some of I guess the traps don't necessarily, I guess I was thinking hiding spot, but like you don't have to stay at the location. You can set it and forget
Correct.
it. Run off. Davy in chat says it can go on Stick to the Plan if you're running with Leo, which is awesome. That's cool. I mean, it's a decent one to have on Stick to the Plan. I think they're...
Yeah.
I don't know if when are we going to get like the 5 experience Stick to the Plan that lets you do 5 cards under it instead of 3?
All the tactics in your deck.
Yeah.
But you have to attach every single one of them.
Oh. And so then you're limited to 1 a turn.
You have to either play or discard 1 once per turn.
Ooh, well now you're designing a rogue card.
Yeah, that's true.
That doesn't sound like
Dual
sticking
class,
to the
baby.
plan. Dual class, stick to the plan. I like it.
Yeah, I like it's a little bit expensive, but obviously Rogue has ways to pay for stuff. And on that note, this might actually be a good Preston card because it's like Testless, Evade, and Clue Discovery. So I might try that out in him. I think the main part is just trying to think about how you can guarantee, well, not necessarily guarantee, but how you can play it most strategically, where, because obviously you can't control like when an enemy is going to spawn, other than a few cards that do let you do that, but in general you can't. So just trying to think about when the best times are to use it is like the tricky part of the card.
So hear me out. In Leo, play down Under Surveillance, then use On the Hunt to go find an enemy from the encounter.
That combo is called Entrapment.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Better not be playing your beat call.
And then you also Scene of the Crime for a total of what, 5? On the Hunt is what, 1?
Yep.
So 6 resources for 3 clues in a vein. Sure. Let's do it.
That's how Leo gets clues. By setting you up.
Man.
By framing the enemy.
All right. The next one is for Nick.
Yeah, so we got Blood Pact, which is a level 0. What? Mystic asset that costs 2 resources, has an intellect and a combat icon and a spell, and pact traded. Zappy Boy, add 1 Doom to Blood Pact. You get +2 Will for the skill test, limit once per test. And Zappy Boy the second, add 1 Doom to Blood Pact. You get +2 combat for the skill test, limit once per test. So, true to my style of reading, I guess, I didn't realize this was limit once per test. And I was like...
That's a key part of the card.
I was like, oh man, slap this down, throw like 6 Doom on it, and then sacrifice it. But
yeah.
Can't do that.
So, Dabby mentions this in chat, and this is the place I've seen this. And the only place I've used it, because I think Blood Pact, in general, is not a card that I enjoy playing with. Both either the level 3 or this one. But I did try this one in Dexter, and it's you can get an awesome power turn out of it.
I can see that. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But other than that, it's probably going to stay in my binder, and I don't even have a binder.
I mean,
in my card box, but yeah.
I think the only other person who would run Blood Pact, maybe 0, but definitely 3, would be Marie. You know what I mean? The Doom runner.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, especially the permanent one, then it's just an easy always on for her ability.
The permanent one, yeah, but I feel like she's got better options for Doom. Like,
well, I mean, she does, but the permanent one is like, it's always there. I have the option to turn it on if I don't have anything else. Gives you +3 will. I think the issue, and I might... Sorry, Ian, I'll let you talk in a second here. I think the issue might be that we only have 1 card that removes Doom from a player card, and it's Moonlight Ritual. I think we're due for an event or something that's Mystic that does the Doom removal, but in a different way. Maybe it adds curse tokens. I mean, we're probably not going to see that because we're through the curse cycle.
Or a skill.
Now. Yeah, or a
Succeed
skill.
At this, remove a Doom.
Yeah, I could see that.
Chat mentions sacrifice.
Right, that's what I had said. Throw down Blood Pact, slap a bunch of Doom on it, then sack it. But
yeah,
that's a lot for +2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's Dexter or GTFO for this card.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know. Like, there are ways, obviously, like the ones you've mentioned already, to get rid of it. I'm just not sure. Like, generally, if I'm doing Doom play and I'm using those cards, I probably already have other more important cards that I might be using them for, like a Renfield or even like a permanent Blood Pact. So maybe this is like a level 0 option if you're going that route. But otherwise, I'm not so sure. I think we mentioned it on our last episode when we were talking about state of the game, like that Doom play was an area that needs some help. And a part of it is just because compared to, like, we have lots of different archetypes in the game that use something as a resource, whether it's like damage as a resource or clues. But of all of those, Doom is like the most risky. It's like literally getting you close to losing the game. So it better give you the power to back it up.
Yeah. Speaking of power to back it up.
Yes. So moving on. I lost track. I think it was Scott's turn. Yeah.
This is Scott. Yeah.
Is it mine? Okay, I'm gonna
I think
go.
so, yep.
Abyssal Tome is a 2-cost level 2 mystic asset. It has the intellect and combat icon. It has item and tome traded. So, Daisy can take this either way. Either her parallel side or her normal side. Action, exhaust Abyssal Tome. Fight. You may use either intellect or willpower for this attack instead of combat. So basically any stat but agility.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ian. When you initiate this attack, you may place 1 Doom on Abyssal Tome to a maximum of 3. You get +1 skill value and deal +1 damage for this attack for each Doom on Abyssal Tome.
So it's Renfield, but for attacking.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's Renfield for attacking.
And it has a max.
you can get pretty high on it.
3.
But I don't know.
And not to get high on my own
plus
supply,
3 doing
but...
4 damage, exhausted.
Sure. Yeah, this is like Renfield. Gosh, I don't know. Why is Renfield so good and this feels not nearly as good? You know what I mean?
I think because Renfield is fast and he generates resources for you.
Renfield's fast?
Well, his exhausting is.
Oh, okay. I see.
He's a zappy boy, not an action arrow.
I thought you meant he had the fast keyword. I was like, what?
Yeah. Brother Zagon points out in chat too, allies are easier to get rid of than a hand slot thing.
This tome should have horror soak on it.
Yeah. Renfield also gives you just a permanent willpower stat boost.
Oh, you're right.
So
he also, like, he enables everything else you do because, you know, that's what a resource engine does. Yeah. Whereas this is essentially like a weapon or attack spell replacement, which Mystic isn't necessarily hurting for those. Like, granted, this is repeatable and you could also scale it up.
Yeah.
But, like, how many scenarios is that going to be sustainable rocking like 2 or 3 Doom on this?
And you don't
how many turns are you going to get this off? Because it is it's once per turn.
Yeah.
And it takes 3 turns to get up to max.
And it's because it's once per turn, if you're not stacking Doom on it, it would feel really lame to use it. Like, I'm at 1 attack just to get +2 to combat, essentially, is what you're doing. You know, if you're replacing it with Will. That's pretty lame.
Network does point out, though, it is kind of like a stat boost. Because it is just adding +1.
Yeah, once a turn. So,
or you're getting you're fighting and you could use your willpower instead of your combat. So I guess you could just hold this and now you can punch with your willpower whenever you want without putting Doom on it.
Once a turn for 1 damage, unless you put Doom. That's the thing. Like, if it were once a turn, that's fine. But then I feel like there should be a damage bonus to start with. It should come with a natural +1 damage, maybe. Yeah. Or because it's too experienced. Like, I keep forgetting there's experience cost to this thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power, Davy says in chat. Yep. Yeah, I think, that'll do it. But that's also now, doesn't that cost experience now, the taboo version?
Yeah, it's 3, I think.
Jeez, it's 3?
It's a really good card, Nick.
It is. That's why I play it as printed.
Yeah. I still take it in decks at 3 XP, and I'm like, I will gladly pay for this.
I mean, sure, but it's, level 0 knowledge is power. Like, that's real power right there.
So Jeff does say, like, this is something we always say, too, that everyone should be able to deal with, like, a rat or an acolyte. So this is one way for, just a 1 damage ping, get rid of something. It's a tool.
Isn't that what, like... I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you real quick. What about, like, Wither?
Sword cane.
Yeah.
Sword cane.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of anything that costs 2 experience or less. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is this pretty much a Daisy card?
Seems like it.
That's kind of how I feel. And I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Right?
Even in Daisy.
Yeah, even
because
comparing it to other tomes.
A straight up Mystic, you probably have other options.
Yeah. Like Spirit Athame, for Pete's sake.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess, yeah. I was going to say, like, oh, maybe it's like a boss killer type thing once you're getting into the witching hour, but then again...
The timing on that is so hard.
Yeah, the fact that you have to... The fact you have to steadily build up the Doom over 3 turns means it's going to be really hard to time that. It's going to be hard.
But I guess at 1 Doom, it is a once per turn shriveling.
Yeah, but you're also, unless you have a way to get rid of the Doom or get rid of the Tome, you're giving up an entire round to get...
I think if you're using it in someone like Daisy, who has so many things to put in hand slots. That you're just like, I'm done with this.
Yeah. Or what's that ally where it comes into play and you can pop a tome back into hand?
Oh, Library Docent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so something like that could help get rid of the Doom too. This is a card that is begging me to figure it out, and I'm not sure if it's going to be good or not, but I want to try it.
Yeah. Library Docent. What level is Library Docent?
Level 0, I think.
Is it?
I think so.
I think it's XP.
Oh,
but
level
I don't
2.
remember how much.
Level 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I was going to say...
So there's your 8 XP. 2 books, 2 docents.
Killer deck.
I was going to...
it.
Yeah.
Oh, level 1. Davy was wrong.
Well, still
Okay,
not.
6
I was
XP.
thinking about Docent in Maria or in Marie, but it won't work. So if she's level 1. Also, is
Okay.
Marie event only?
Well, in that case, I'll go ahead and move it on over to Butterfly Effect. This is a level 1 zero-cost survivor event. Wild Icon, Paradox, Blessed, and Curse traits. How about that for a collection of traits? Fast, play when a Chaos token with a symbol is revealed during a skill test at your location before resolving its effects. You or the performing investigator may either commit a card to this skill test or return a card they committed to this test to their hand.
Sure.
This card's pretty good.
Yep.
Because a lot of the times when you're making a test, you want to be like 2 or 3 up, and then you're like, okay, I've pretty much cleared the bag except for, let's say, the -4, the -5, or the Elder thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the Elder thing usually has a, if you fail, break your leg and throw all your money or something.
Right.
Like,
Yes,
something
yeah.
terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And this offers you protection from that, but it's like Lucky where you don't have to play it. It's like comparing Lucky to Unexpected Courage. Like Unexpected Courage, you have to put in for it.
Right.
Lucky, you can hold until you need it. Same thing with this. Or, you hit a skull and you're like, oh, the skull is 0. Well, I can take this, my leveled up Unexpected Courage back or something. So,
Yet
I even play
another...
this in Silas, right? Like just more skill card control. So,
Yeah. I mean, if you're running 19 skills, yeah, why not?
yeah. And this is not just skills either. This one is just
Yes,
commit a card
anything.
or return a card. Yeah.
Any card.
Yet
Yeah.
another survivor card that's just making try and try again more obsolete. Right? Do you guys remember that card? Do you remember try and try again?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, vaguely. I might have a vague memory of that card.
I always get the 2 versions of it mixed up. The level 1 version, which I think is probably the most comparable to this because they're the same experience cost, comes with 3 tries. You discard it if it's empty, and then after a test is failed, if a skill card you own is committed to the test, exhausted, spend a try, return that card to hand. I was trying to think of other cards that bounce, but this is even better. Like it's an event, so it's a one-time use, but it lets you either hold on to the skill or retrieve it. Like that versatility is amazing in this.
Yeah, because there's a lot of situations where all of a sudden you draw that token that's like 1 greater than you planned for, and then being able to pitch that. I think the only kind of factor in this is it has to be a chaos token with a symbol, but those are also the situations where they usually have a nasty effect like -4, like punch yourself in the face or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So being able to control for that is helpful.
Is this the first time we've seen a card with the game text chaos token with a symbol?
Yeah.
Because that now includes blesses, curses,
curse.
elder sign.
It sure does.
Yeah.
It and if future chaos tokens were to release with symbols, this would also include that as well. So that's interesting.
Prescient from yeah, it's you name even, odd, or symbol.
Aha. Okay, so there we go.
This is also a really good support card for like someone else doing something. So I'm playing some good investigator, and Ian's playing Winnie, and and Winnie's got the try or no. Not try again. Anything you can do better.
Yes,
The
yeah.
six intellect, right? Or the 6
Wild.
question mark. Goodness, I'm getting tired. Wild.
okay.
Thank you. So on those big bombastic turn or something, like, right? She's doing something and she's like, I will clear out everything in this bag, puts down anything you can do better, and draws the tentacle. Nah, pull that back, right? Let's try this again. So even as I invested a really good card into the skill test only to draw the auto fail.
Right.
Now you can take it back. So just some damage mitigation in that sense too, keeping your hand healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, this also gives more control to survivor decks, which often want to control whether you fail or succeed. Like when you commit a take heart and pass, because as soon as you commit a take heart, you draw like an elder sign
Every turn.
Always. Or just, maybe you didn't hit the threshold you needed for Look What I Found or something like that. So lots of uses. Definitely a good one for 1 XP, I think.
Yeah.
Speaking of try again.
Yeah,
right?
Maybe the third time will be the charm. I think we're on Nick now.
Third time's the charm is a level 2 survivor event. It costs 1 resource, has a will, combat, and an agility icon. It is spirit traded, and its game text reads, fast. Play when a skill test at your location begins. Twice during this test, when an investigator reveals a chaos token, they may cancel it, return it to the chaos bag, and reveal a new chaos token. I feel like this one was on the reveal article for Devil Reef, because I feel like
I think it was.
We talked about this one before. Yeah, again, yet another survivor card that is making try and try again obsolete, which I'm sure that's fine. The only thing I have, it seems good. The only thing that I have to say about this card is this the biggest dissonance between game text, theme of the card, and art out of every card we've seen so far? How does that art? What about that art is third time's the charm? And there's no room for flavor text to explain it either. So.
Yeah. Maybe the previous 2 couples were smashed off screen, off camera.
Yeah.
And third time's the charm.
Network in the chat asks, can this break a blurst chain? And how does the timing work on that? So it's whenever investigator would reveal a chaos token, they may when they reveal it, they may cancel it. So you reveal a curse, you could be like, nah, throw it back.
Yeah.
Reveal another, and you get a bless, and then you can say, okay, I'll let that trigger, and then the next one you draw off that bless, you could then cancel. You twice during the test, you can just say, no, throw that token back. But you can allow the blesses or curses to fire in between that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
So, yeah. Yeah, cool. It's a very interesting card. I think it's quite good.
Yeah.
Although I will say I think it is a late campaign upgrade. I think because it feels to me like this is when you're going toe to toe with the final boss and you need a big bombastic skill test and you just need them to pass.
Yeah.
So you're basically trying to avoid the auto fail. That's where this comes in. Although it would be nice to have this throughout the whole campaign to, every scenario you get near the end and you have those tests you need to pass. So
yeah, and also nice in 3 or 4 players since it's a skill test at your location.
Exactly.
So that gives you a lot of opportunities there and higher.
Help your guardian out.
Yeah.
Or your seeker or whatever you need.
But I think your assessment, even with that, your assessment I don't think is incorrect. I think this is a cute, fun thing to throw in for some extra insurance. I don't think it's a cornerstone of any build that you're going to want to grab right away.
No.
Unless you are playing in a 2 or 3 player bless curse extravaganza, and then this just offers you a little bit more control over that, which is cool. So
I've used this in a few times in a few scenarios, and I think every single time I've used it, save for maybe one, I think we used it to cancel an auto fail once. But every single time the first token they pulled was a pass, and we're fine with it. So I was like,
of course.
Okay. It just
yeah,
cool. Okay.
I think so. Is this one that you would throw at a test? You probably would throw this more often at tests when you're like, I don't have anything I can commit, but we need this test. All right, third time's a charm. That sort of thing.
That, or it's like, this shotgun needs to hit this time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right, where it's and we've piled in everything, and it's auto fail avoiding. Right, you're rolling at 14 to 6 with a shotgun. So you're like, even if I get a -5, I'm still
Yeah.
hitting whatever, right? It's auto fail elimination,
Sure.
hopefully.
Okay.
Yep. It could be called autofill insurance for sure.
Someone did post on our server, though, I forget who, they drew 3 auto fails.
Yeah,
I was just
remember
about to
seeing
say,
that.
I know some poor fool is going to drop the autofill.
I remember seeing that
Oh, I'm
picture.
sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
That hurts.
Yeah,
This
autofill
is
insurance.
the
It
type-
ensures you draw it.
Yeah, exactly. This is the type of card that I think is useful. I think it's powerful. I like it, and then I don't end up including it in my deck. And
Right?
I think that may be a
first card.
problem with how I build decks, but it's like I just end up prioritizing those kind of bread and butter cards that are just like
Yeah.
driving the engines of your deck.
Yeah.
But that's not to say this isn't useful, and maybe I should make more room for it. But
Right.
man, 30 cards is tight sometimes.
Yep, it sure is. Grab some versatile, you'll find room for it.
Yep. Well, I don't want to manipulate anyone into liking that card. Scott, why don't you wrap it up for us?
All right. Well, I'll just manipulate the destiny so I get to read this one. Manipulate Destiny is a level 2 1-cost neutral event with a wild icon, spell traded, so Marie can take it. Not that she can.
Yes, only she can take it.
I'll have you know, third time is a charm, so it's spirit traded, so Calvin can take it. But anyways, manipulate Destiny. Reveal tokens from the Chaos bag until you reveal a curse, an auto fail, a bless, or an elder sign token. If you revealed a curse or a auto fail token, deal 2 damage to an enemy at your location. A bless or an elder sign, heal 2 damage from an investigator or ally at your location. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity.
Talk about a card
you're-
that demands specific builds.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I actually kind of really like this card.
It's interesting. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's a good neutral flavor to Blessing Curse.
I use this in my Sister Mary deck to heal my beat cops, my upgraded beat
Oh,
cops.
sure.
So, no, it doesn't. It doesn't heal horror, unfortunately. But
Right. Are you running any curse play in that Sister Mary deck?
no,
Okay, so you're
Bless.
you're running this just for the bless. Interesting.
correct.
I mean, it's 2 heal for doesn't provoke and 1 resource. So
yeah,
Yeah, this might be an add to that Seeker combat deck we were talking about. Because if you're already running curses for gaze, then you can throw
Yeah.
this in too. And hopefully get some more damage out.
I don't think Gaze goes in our Seeker combat deck, but okay.
Says you.
I mean, 7 tokens, no cap on damage. That sounds like the shotgun for Seeker to me.
Shotgun from your eyeballs.
This is such a
Yeah.
it's a niche card, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even in my Sister Mary deck, I think it's okay. I think it's cute more than good,
Sure.
but
Because realistically, you'd want to put this in something that's running both Bless and Curse, so you double. But then it's like, then it seems like it's a late campaign ad when you already have trauma and you know you're going to be up against enemies. I don't know. You're right. It's cute because it feels like no matter whether you're trying to deal damage or heal damage,
yeah.
there's a better answer for either of those in most classes. I guess
I
unless
think-
you're rogue.
I think you probably choose one that you want.
Right.
So with Seeker, maybe you're running all the curses to use that curse bag for, Ortosh and all these other things. But you also include this as your damage option, right? 1 cost, no attack of opportunity, deal 2 damage. You spawn a ghoul, you're like, nah. And there's a really good chance you're going to hit it for 2.
Right. Sure.
Except for when you need the damage, you will draw the Elder Sign.
Yes.
And just heal instead. I think that's, as someone who's a fan of random effects just for the fun factor, it just makes this card hard to assess because It's like you're gonna want one, yeah, but unless you carefully cultivate the chaos bag, you're not necessarily gonna have that guaranteed. Whereas most cards, you kind of know what you're getting when you play it, but this one not necessarily. But that's fate for you. Mm-hmm. Well, that is the player cards of Devil Reef. So this is where I let you all know that if you're trying to avoid spoilers for Devil's Reef, you should skedaddle at this point. I think I'm going to always switch back and forth between Devil's Reef and Devil Reef.
I mean, there's one right.
Devil Reef. All right, yeah, we're going to get into the spoilers segment now and actually talk about this scenario. Which is in that kind of always interesting second Mythos pack slot where we've often got some of the hard scenarios for the game, like Unspeakable Oath. What else we got? Boundary Beyond.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the big... Essex, yeah.
Essex, yeah, that was the tone setter right there.
Yeah, Wages of Sin. So I'm kind of having that in my mind as we talk and thinking about how this one stacks up against the one of the favorite moments for the designers to like punch us in the face and knock us out. So Devil Reef, in terms of story, this is as we kind of toggle back and forth between present and past. Devil Reef takes us back into the past. I think it says 3 weeks earlier in the insert. The idea is that we've gotten kind of clues of where we should go next, and we know that the Order of Dagon is doing something in Devil Reef. So the investigators go out to Devil Reef, but it's a supposedly cursed place, and there's stories of a creature there that supposedly resides there. And so the idea is just to go there and figure out what is actually at Devil Reef that has the cultists all in a tizzy and worked up. So that's the story. The setup of this one is, first off, if you have Alina Harper, you got to chuck her out. And then instead you get Dawson in hand, since we're in the past, in the era where Dawson is still among the living. And Dawson, if the mission was successful on scenario 2, the vanishing of Alina Harper, then Dawson goes in your hand. If not, you shuffle him into your deck. And this one has a kind of a lot of random elements going on, because you have Churning Waters as the hub. Mm-hmm. You have 5 Devil Reef locations that you kind of arrange randomly that are connected to Churning Waters. Then you have Unfathomable Depths locations, and you chuck one of each type, so those are kind of random. And then we have the return of the tidal tunnels, which are all shuffled together and random. Mm-hmm. So if you like random locations, Devil Reef got a scenario for you. Yeah, I guess I'll just start there. How do you guys feel about that kind of random location? Because I think there's pluses and minuses to it.
I mean, I don't know. Replayability plus makes it really hard to plan for, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Iron Man Devil Reef's gonna suck.
Maybe we'll just skip it. Just resign first action. But
we've never done that before.
No, we always just go head in and take 5 minutes to finish it off. I think Pax nails it on the head. It's really hard to feel like you're making decisions matter until way later in the scenario.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. Out of all the Innsmouth scenarios right now, this is my least favorite. Now that being said, I want to clarify. It doesn't mean I don't like it, because I do like it. It's just my least. It's someone has to come last at the Olympics. I think it asks a lot of movement. I feel like the vehicle mechanic where you can only enter and leave once per turn felt, the word that's coming to my mind, and I don't know if I'm correct, felt clumsy in this one, or like I felt clumsy using it. More so than the cars in Horror and High Gear, right? Like, it just, having then played Horror and High Gear, I'm like, man, the vehicles work way better in that one than in than this one, at least for what it's asking of you, which is getting out, exploring, getting back in, and remembering you have to come back here with this key, so you got to sail over here and get this one, and like, yeah. And if you go to the wrong island randomly first, and you're like, oh shoot, I have to unlock this other key, and I don't know where that is, like, it can feel like it's just, I drew the wrong islands at the wrong time, and my decisions didn't affect the outcome of this game.
Yeah, that's the tough part. Like, I appreciate the kind of random location type scenarios, because they do kind of have that both replayability, but also the kind of like emergent narrative aspect that it's gonna throw up some weird stuff sometimes that you can't quite predict it. But on the other hand, what you talked about, Scott, that it's kind of removing some of the strategy and player agency from it, that it's like, I'm not picking a Devil Reef location to go to because I've kind of know the scenario and I know what strategy I'm trying to do. I'm just randomly pointing at a location, and it could be the one I want. It could be something that's going to slow me down and not get me where I need to go. And when I think about my different plays of this scenario, I mean, the reality is, yeah, a lot of it has been dependent on what just kind of the order of the locations and which ones I got. Because those locations kind of determine. So let's get into the structure a little bit, which we talked a little bit about already. So we have the vehicle, which we can talk about those vehicle mechanics. But kind of the main mechanic of this scenario is that there's main keys you need to get in order to get these artifacts that it turns out to be the reason why you and the cult are here. But in order to get those main keys, each one requires 2 secondary keys, which are random depending on what location you get. And so you might get a weird kind of assortment of which keys you need. Like in one play, it might be, let's say you have the yellow key, and that helps you unlock 2 different main keys. But in a different play, the yellow key is only good for one of them, so it's like half as useful or efficient. So it's just little things like that that kind of open it up to randomness, I think.
Network brings it up in the chat too. It's kind of like the Wages of Sin thing, where every single Geist might be literally across the map. Or they might be like, in our Iron Man, oh great, this one I can finish right here. Done, moved, gone, right? And that feeling of randomness in setup, yes, it allows replayability, so you can't plan this out the way that other scenarios can be planned out, where you need to go to this location first, this one second. I like the scenarios where I can plan it out with maybe a little bit of variability in there, but this one feels much more like a Keyforge deck than a constructed deck. You know what I mean, right? Like, there's rules within it, but it really is, there's so much randomness in it. It's a bit too much for me personally.
Yeah. No, I agree. If it were just the location or just the sub keys or whatever we're going to call them, if it were just one of those 2 elements, I think it would feel better. I know I would feel better. And it's both of them together just make it, the potential for a slog is much higher with this than with other scenarios, I think.
And I think MJ has said in the past that when they were designing Innsmouth, the point was that you shouldn't be able to get all the keys. Like, they're like, or all the flashbacks. Like, that's the point. Like, everyone should get a different combination of the story. So I kind of understand this from that point of view as well. But
yeah, and I totally get that, and I think my opinion of this scenario slightly changed, whereas at first I was kind of down on it because as someone who does play a decent amount of true solo, it's a really rough true solo scenario. Because of the hub structure, it requires so much movement because of this main key, sub key structure. you can't just like go to a location and grab the main key. You have to do a lot of backtracking. Okay, now I know what sub keys I need. Let me go find those. Okay, now I got to go back where I was to get the other key. Now I got to go back. Like in true solo, it's so much ground to cover. So actually, Iron Man, we might be able to do pretty well with 4 players running around. But even then, the vehicle kind of limits you.
Yeah. It's
anyway.
still one boat.
Yeah, there's still just one boat. There's not 2 boats. When I was preparing for this episode, I was like, for Iron Man, I'll probably have to like map out, do my crazy planning and map out what are all the key combinations possible and which ones are in which locations. But then part of me was like, but it doesn't even matter though, because it's not like we can plan or do anything differently. So I'll probably do it anyway because I'm slightly crazy, but I don't know how much it'll matter though.
Yeah. We just want. I think for Iron Man, we just want to make sure we have all of our mobility tools by this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think that's the only real way to get around.
Open gates.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, those would be huge. Just forget the boat, just teleport.
Yeah. It is interesting that this one is so, like, when I compare how I felt about this one versus how I felt about, like, Boundary Beyond when I first played that one, or I know you said Wages of Sin, and technically that is the 4th scenario in TCU, but technically, it's Secret Name is the 4th scenario because you have to play that prologue. That counts. So
that's the prologue. It's not a scenario.
It's still a chapter.
It's before.
But like this versus Secret Name, or this versus Boundary Beyond, or this versus Essex, like I guess I didn't walk away with as negative of a feeling on this.
Yeah,
but
this is not a Boundary Beyond rage, like.
Right.
You know, us putting a warning at the beginning of the episode, like,
yeah.
hold on to your butts, you know.
Yeah,
it probably
like
helps that you can resign.
Yes, I still enjoyed it. It was more like I saw the points where I was like, ooh, you know, that could be a problem. That could be a problem. But and even though like my Mateo and Mary play of it did not go very well, it still was fun and I still enjoyed it. So I don't know. I guess maybe that means like I'm slowly bending to MJ's will. I don't know.
I think also.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Ian.
No, you go.
Okay.
I'll go. No, I'm kidding.
I think because we play this game a lot and obviously care about Arkham and strive for victory most often. Like, I mean, I think we're like anyone on this podcast, anyone listening to this podcast probably plays to win, right? Like, I think we can all assume that. And I think the way we feel about this is the same way some new players feel about Midnight Masks, where it's like, well, I only got 5 cultists. I didn't get 6. Like, how do I get the 6 cultists? It's like, maybe you don't need to get them all, right? Like, we're all gunning for perfect.
Sure.
It's just like in Boundary Beyond, like, I can't get all 6 locations. It's like, well, you probably shouldn't be able to. That's kind of the idea of it. And looking at it from that point of view, it feels a bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do agree that once I started thinking of this as like another kind of push your luck type scenario, which we've actually gotten a lot of in Innsmouth so far, and even just the scenarios we've talked about so far in the podcast, that it's kind of one of the running themes of like, how many keys can you get? And so that's really what this is all about. You're probably not going to get 3, especially in solo. I call 1 key a victory for the most part. 2, you've done really well. Like, you've knocked it out of the park. 3 is you've just like found the promised land. But for the most part, I think thinking of it in that way helps, in the fact that you can resign. But there's still, I mean, all that being said, there's still a little bit of weirdness to the randomness, but
right.
At least it's not like ruining your campaign. If this was like a campaign ending scenario, then that would feel a lot
You drown
worse.
and are killed. Yeah.
Yeah. Then there'd be lots of salt flying around.
Yeah. You choke on one of the keys.
Oh.
Why did you eat it? There's no chocolate in it. Yeah.
Which would be awkward because this is a flashback scenario, so somehow you died in the past and never experienced the present.
You're already dead. Ooh.
Yeah, you're just a ghost now.
Spooky.
We talked a little bit about the vehicle. We've been on the Mythos Busters talking a long time about wanting some vehicle play.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you all overall feel about our adventures on a boat in this scenario?
It was fine.
Yeah,
It was
I
fine.
liked it,
It was...
but I liked it. I like the cars better. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like, because the only way that, like, the boat was only interesting because regular movement was limited. You know what I mean? Because, like, you
Yeah.
can't, what was it? It cost you extra actions or whatever to move without the boat.
Yeah, it's like a
actions to
triple
swim.
action. Yeah, to
Like, that's
swim.
the only, so then it's like, fine, I guess I'll use the vehicle then. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And I know someone in chat earlier said, like, they're kind of, a little bothered by the fact that the vehicles don't work in the same way. It's well, yeah, but they're also different vehicles, like boats, cars. I mean, yeah, they both
boats and
drive.
cars are different, yes.
They don't. Yeah,
They're exactly the same.
right. What are you gonna take a boat on the road? No.
Watch me. Well, and I think that plays into like our part of our hype in the past is because vehicles are cool, and so we want to get in a vehicle and do cool stuff. But the mechanics of the boat in this scenario is it's not there to do cool stuff. It's there to limit you. It's there to
Right.
make the scenario harder by essentially, I mean, in conjunction with the fact that swimming is like a triple action. Like those two things combined mean the vehicle is really just a way to get around moving. And it's just an enabler for you to move normally what you would do in a normal scenario.
Right.
So it's not really like letting you do cool, I don't know, boat tricks, boat wheelies.
Yeah.
The flaming hoop that we have to jump through. Yeah, you know, I guess
Jumping
if
the
this is,
shark.
if this is a build up, like first we got the boat and it was fine, and then we got the cars and they were cool, and then eventually we get what I want, which is the motorcycle with the sidecar. You know, then then that's fine. This is a necessary sort of stepping stone to that.
Yeah.
That being said, I do think it is interesting because I haven't played this one 3 or 4 player. I don't know how interesting it will actually be in practice, but this is one of the few scenarios rather, where it's kind of forcing the investigators to like travel together and work out who's gonna spend the action on the boat. And it does, even in two-handed, sometimes it throws up some interesting questions as far as like what order you do the turns, because if you need to get out with the boat, then someone has to do the actions in a certain order. So I do think there's some interesting strategy there, so I'll give it some credit in that
Sure.
respect. So the other big part of the scenario, which we haven't really talked about yet, is there is a boss battle here against the terror of Devil Reef, the aforementioned mysterious creature. And how you fight this thing, or whether you can fight it, is actually determined before you even play the scenario. Way back in, I think it's in Pit of Despair in the very first scenario, whether you get the battle with Horrifying Devil Memory. If you do have that, and that's a yes, then the Terror of Devil Reef can be defeated in this scenario. It also has more health, though. But if the answer to that is no and you don't have that particular memory, then the Terror cannot be defeated. And instead, when you would defeat it, it just gets exhausted instead. Which can be useful, but it does mean that you can't get one particular resolution of this scenario where you kill the Terror. Which is potentially important for later in the campaign. But
I think that's cool. I think that's interesting that the first scenario of the game, of the campaign, determines whether or not you can actually defeat this mid-campaign boss. For Mary Mateo, they did not get that memory, so I think Mary defeated this thing twice just to delay it, you know what I mean? And that sucked just from an action use in a scenario that already demands a lot of use out of your actions. That wasn't helping.
Yeah.
I have a feeling a lot of the, not a lot, but for this particular scenario, a lot of the Iron Man strategy will be revolving around what we want to do with the Terror of Devil Reef and whether we want to try to get that memory. But I think most of my campaigns have just ended up not having that memory, so I haven't been able to defeat it.
Right.
So it's just been a lot of like delaying actions, and that's actually... I actually think that's where the point at which this scenario becomes more interesting in my plays, because before it's just kind of, let's float along and explore. But at the point that let's just have a nice cruise.
See where the tide takes us.
At the point the terror comes out, that's when it becomes more tense and okay, how are we gonna evade this thing and get out of this part of the map and get to the next part? So we've talked a lot about some of the random aspects, but are there particular strategies that you've found useful in this one?
Don't swim.
Yeah. Go fast.
It's hard to say their strategy. Like, I mean, as Xylo's saying in chat, play Luke.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Luke, open gates, the Queen, the pendant, elusive. Like, there's a lot of options. Well, I guess you could use... what's the one we just talked about? The Seeker one.
Truth beckons.
Couldn't you move one location at a time?
Does that work with the boat?
Oh, maybe not.
I gotta look at the boat card again to remember.
I think it... Would it still throw the extra action cost on you?
Yeah, because
it doesn't...
by how it's worded.
Yeah, it doesn't work with the boat. Anyway, so ignore that one. I don't think you can really have a strategy besides just like open up an island, do as much as you can, see what you got, and just systematically go through and just once you reveal enough, just pick the one or two main keys that you think you can get and just go for those and be okay with ignoring a key and be like, that one's just not an option with what I've revealed so far. Yeah.
The strategy for this scenario is just play well.
Get better.
Get good. Learn how to pilot the boat. Yeah, I think overall I agree. I think the only kind of big question that I've asked of myself is whether it's better, and obviously this is more the case in like two-handed or higher player counts, whether it's better to try to just like reveal as much of the map as you can. So you kind of know the lay of the land, like which main key is where, which keys does it need. Or do you just put your head down and just kind of gobble up clues as you go along like you normally would and just get what you can while you can? And I've had varying degrees of success with both approaches, so I'm not sure which one is better.
Same.
I think I'm still on the more chaotic side of it, where it's just like open up what I can, do what I can, see what happens, get through the scenario.
Yep.
Yeah, and so I think the times that I've kind of adjusted in the middle of it, where it's like, okay, I know I'm really only gonna try to get this one key over here, so I'm just gonna keep opening up the map until I find the keys I need, and I'm gonna ignore the rest. So it's like, okay, I got to this locations, I'm not even gonna bother getting clues there. Those aren't the clues I need for the main key I'm trying to get.
Sure.
You could use Fortune or Fate, which has a picture of a boat on it, to stop a doom from being placed on the agenda, so you get one more turn, which means more actions for finding keys. There's
it's like that card was made for this scenario.
Really? I mean, here you go.
Just try to fill up your deck with as many cards that have a boat or ocean on it as possible.
Yeah.
A chance encounter.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a survivor deck, I'm guessing. Okay. So What about some notable encounter cards that have jumped out at you playing this one?
Well, Nick, you revealed a super fun fact.
Oh
before the
yeah.
show.
This is the only scenario that I know of that repeats the title of an encounter card. So this scenario has an encounter card called Dragged Under, and Curse of the Rougarou, the first scenario outside the core box that released, also has an encounter card entitled Dragged Under, and they function differently. Yeah, that's an interesting point.
Dragged Under, it can be difficult for like a seeker to deal with this.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe a mystic. But the thing is, I believe your friend can also help you. Like, someone else can take this test for you. So someone can pull you back into the boat, essentially.
Yeah.
Or drag you upwards, I guess.
Yeah, I'd say this is one of those cards along with I'm pretty sure the malfunction set. I forgot what it's exactly.
I think
called.
it's just
Maybe
called
it is
malfunction, and I hate it.
Yeah. I think those two combined, which basically just limit your ability to get in the vehicle and pilot it. In Dragged Under's case, being able to enter the vehicles. I think those two are the ones that have resulted in the most kind of failures for me in Devil Reef, just because since everything revolves around that, it's like, okay, I got my escape, I'm gonna swim away or row away from the terror, and then this comes out and you're just like, you can't enter vehicles for the turn, I guess I'll die.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Guess I'll go die.
I'll die.
Yeah. Yep.
Aquatic Ambush was one that if you're like, that's a late game one that if it comes out you're like, shit, because then it's okay, great, flooded locations, and now I have to reveal more chaos tokens when I'm fighting, and then if you're running with the terror that can't be defeated and you're trying to take care of it, that's continues to be a problem. Yeah, that's one that can just kind of get worse as the scenario goes on.
Yeah, and I think the rest are really just the typical deep one BS that we've run across in the rest of the cycle. The usual deep one tricks that destroy you.
We're used to it now.
Like, oh, again? Okay, just, let your body go limp and sink into the ocean. That's fine. That's fine. I'm used to it.
I really hated the hunting deep one because of what it did with the vehicle mechanics. Because if it engages you, if you're in a vehicle, you have to leave the vehicle, and you're only allowed to enter or exit the vehicle once per turn. Mm-hmm. So if you're in a vehicle planning to leave this turn, and you draw this during Mythos phase, it kicks you out of the boat, and then you can't get back in the boat that turn, which is super annoying.
Yeah.
And that one drove me nuts.
Yeah, I could actually see that being really annoying in 3 or 4 player if one of the people that happens to, they can't get back in the boat.
Guess
so
you're
then
swimming.
is your whole party just gonna stick around for that one investigator?
Right?
That's such an action suck.
You just hang out here. We're gonna go check out the next island.
Yeah, bye. Guess this is where you live now. Yeah, that'll be interesting. I'm curious to see this in higher player counts. All right, and so as terms of resolutions, there's actually not a ton going on here. So it's essentially if you doom out, because there is a resign as we mentioned. But if you don't get to that, if you doom out, the tide grows stronger is something that you have to mark in your campaign log and find out later in the campaign what that does. The other thing that gets marked that's important is whether you, as it says on our show notes, whether you made calamari bites out of the terror or whether it is still alive. So whether or not you killed the terror, whether it's still alive. And then other than that, in terms of resolutions, there's not a ton of I think it's just the resolution one essentially. It's all the same other than those two things playing out. And then from there you go to the Interlude 3 Beneath the Waves. And that just basically kind of determines, based on which of the main keys you got, determines which of the 3 artifacts you got. There's the mantle, which lets you move between flooded locations as a free action, free trigger. There's the idol, which lets you take an action if the flood level changes or a deep one spawns at your location or on you. I can't remember which. And then there's the headdress, which is +1 skill at a flooded location when you're investigating or attacking or evading. Which one of those do you guys think is the best of those 3?
The idol,
Yes.
every single time.
Yes, agreed.
I agree. Extra actions, man. That's what Arkham's all about.
Sometimes in the Mythos phase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah, so good. So good. And I think you give this to your if you have roles, like you're more killer person, because a dude spawns on them and they can use an action right then to maybe kill it right there, and then they're open for the rest of their actual turn to deal with other enemies that other players may draw. And also the extra action just to move, like a flood level changes. Sometimes like some of those cards are like, raise your flood level of your location. You're like, sweet, now I'll take an action and I will move out of this location towards something else I need to do. Yeah. Hands down, it's the idol.
One of the interesting things this interlude does do, though, is you get an extra bad stuff token added back to the bag for your trouble. 1 each for, depending on the artifacts you got. So you get a tablet for the mantle, a cultist for the idol, an elder thing for the headdress. And if you don't get any of the artifacts, nothing gets added. So it almost feels like kind of a catch-up mechanic.
Yeah.
In both ways. Like if you
For
did
the-
really
for the
bad at
encounter
the
deck.
scenario. Yeah, like if you did really bad at this scenario, it helps the player catch up by not getting any bad stuff added. But if you did really well, let's say you got all 3, it's going to help the encounter deck catch up by getting 3 bad stuff tokens.
That is interesting. It doesn't bother me necessarily. I do think it's a very interesting way to manage, like, balance between providing cool stuff and also making sure that the game is still at a difficulty that is preferable by the designer. So I think that is an interesting way to do it.
I kind of feel like too, like maybe these 3 things are like, they're kind of haunted-ish.
Oh,
you
sure.
know, and you take them and now you have a spooky elder thing or a spooky cultist in the bag, right? And that follows you into the future, right? So
Yeah. I was interested when I saw this because we haven't seen this in a long time in Arkham, I feel like, unless I'm forgetting there's probably some obvious examples I'm forgetting, but I remember way back in Dunwich, when we talked about Undimensioned and Unseen, and how it kind of had like a catch-up mechanic where if the better you did in Blood on the Altar, the more broods you had to face.
yes.
And vice versa. And I remember at the time thinking, oh, maybe that's something we'll see a lot of in Arkham, but it hasn't really happened. And it's been more about like the better you do, the better stuff you get in general.
Right.
But I'm not against it. I'm just interested that it came back.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on Devil Reef?
I think that covers it for me.
Yeah.
I liked it. It's good. It's just the rest of Innsmouth has been just so like crack it out of the park good that this one feels like, oh, I didn't really like this one, but still good scenario. It's just when you're comparing, you know, a bunch of really good scenarios, this one is just not as great for me.
Sure.
Still fun. Still very fun.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one, between this and Pit of Despair, which one I am less excited to play. Pit of Despair is kind of like, I can get it done and out of the way. You know what I mean? Like, it's the first one, let's just do it.
I've really grown to love the punch you in the mouth on the first
Yeah.
scenario style of Arkham. I kind of like that now.
Pit of Despair, and that's exactly it. Both Pit of Despair and this one, like I said earlier, they're still fun to play. It's just, I can just more easily recognize where it's like, these could be issues in these particular scenarios. Like, that could be a problem in the future, or, or whatever. Like, planning to go into it like, okay, I need to think about finding, mobility. So, I don't know.
Yeah, Pit of Despair and like Curtain Call and some of those opening scenarios are like the Welcome to the Party Pal meme from Die Hard, basically. Yeah, my final thoughts, Devil Reef. I think I feel pretty similar to both of you that I don't dislike the scenario. It's definitely not on my Hall of Shame or anything like that. I do enjoy playing it when I'm playing it, but just, compared to like the rest of the scenarios in the campaign, it falls a little bit below. And I think it's mostly because I love the idea of a boat scenario, and I wanted a little more boat action, but overall it's still not a bad scenario, and I do think there's some interesting things going on in it. Mm-hmm. But that's it for Devil Reef.
Mm-hmm. All right. Shall we lead it into some high and tight tentacle time? Nicholas.
Yeah, let's see. What have I been doing? Okay, so Rime of the Frostmaid's still going on every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. We're playing D&D. We probably only have like 5 or so sessions left. So swing on by if you like. Yeah, I know, we're closing in. So swing on by and watch Ian and MJ and Case and Dave and Justin and Josh all play Dungeons & Dragons. And then we'll have another campaign lined up very shortly after that one finishes that we will also be streaming. I will not be running it. Josh will be running it. And for those of you listening on this podcast, it might be more up your alley if you're not too into Dungeons & Dragons. We will be doing a Call of Cthulhu Horror on the Orient Express, a classic Call of Cthulhu adventure. Excited to see that one go. I won't be playing in it because it's going to run for pretty much the whole summer, and it's very difficult for me to commit to a game every week during the summer. But I'm excited to watch. And like I said, it's streaming on my channel on Twitch, so you guys should come and watch that as well. But I'm going to surprise everybody here, and by everybody, I mean nobody, and say that I've actually been getting back into Bloodborne. So, yeah.
Oh, no.
I haven't platinumed that game yet, so that's what I'm working on. I have like 5 trophies left to get, and then I will have platinumed Bloodborne. So that is what I'm that is what I am doing with my non-Arkham time. But as I said earlier in the episode, I am playing a lot more Arkham now too. So that feels really good. But yeah, that's me. D&D and Bloodborne, not surprising anybody. How about Ian? Yeah.
For my part, I think the main new thing that I've started is a little video game called Disco Elysium, which was I heard a lot about last year because I think it won some big video game awards, but I knew nothing about it other than the title, which doesn't really give you a sense of what the game's about. So I was like, what the hell is this game? But over time, I heard more and more about it, and it sounded like it would be up my alley. So it's a RPG. It's set in, I don't want to say post-apocalyptic, but it's like a fictional city that's kind of down and out. You're playing as a cop who is also down and out. Everyone is down and out. And so I haven't played through a ton of it yet, but it's basically at least the initial part is kind of starting this case and investigating, but you don't have your memory, so you're kind of trying to piece together who you are and what's happening. So that's already a kind of an interesting conceit for an RPG because it's not very like combat heavy or any combat at all, really. It's just kind of doing this investigation, and it's a lot of interesting voice acting and narration because there's all these kind of competing parts of the main character's internal self, like different aspects of his personality, like the part of his personality that's addicted to alcohol and the part of his personality that's like more kind of an encyclopedia and knows a lot of book knowledge. So every time you interact with certain parts of the environment, that particular piece of you will start talking to you, and you kind of have these internal dialogues with yourself. So yeah, it's for anyone who likes very narrative heavy games and something that's doing something different. I would recommend it. It's fun so far. Yeah, dystopian's a good word for it, I think. Davi in chat.
Awesome. Scott, have you had any time to play anything?
Oh god, barely. I have been getting back in love, like not that I ever fell out of love with it, but Slay the Spire. I've taken the orb guy, which I think is the defect, and I'm on like challenge level 13 or whatever it is. So basically every time you beat the game, you can unlock the next level of challenge, and so it just changes something about the game, makes it a little harder. Like, you know, elite enemies are harder, or regular enemies are harder, or they drop less gold, or whatever. And I'm at level 13 of 20 on that.
Oh, wow.
And God, it's a slog now. Holy man. But just an amazing game. That, and I've been still obsessed with Star Wars CCG, and a new Mother album drops on June 25th. And I know Sean and I have talked a bunch about Mother, the band, on this show. So anyone who's a fan, June 25th, new album. So, other than that, just working a whole ton because that's my life now.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody, for the episode 103 of Mythos Busters. If you're not, for those of you listening on the podcast RSS, if you're not part of our Discord, come and hang out. Come and join Discord. That's discord.gg/mythosbusters. Always a place for you to come and chat about Arkham and other stuff. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Subscribe to us on YouTube and Twitch. If you have any feedback for the show, you can give us a call at 203-493-MYTH, or you can email us at mythosbusterspod@gmail.com. And until then, we'll see you guys next time in a couple weeks for episode 104.